starting from the National Assembly, and there was going to
press conference to deal with the issue of shadow cabinet ministers that have been appointed by the party, and the president is going to talk through those appointments. The usual panel is here, the president himself, Honorable Douglas Mwonzora, first vice president, Honorable Dr. Kupe, second vice president, Engineer Elias Mwonzora. So it's going to be a very short press meeting because of the COVID situation as well. So without any further ado, I would like to hand over to the Honorable President of the MDC. Thank you.
Will you allow me to take the mask off? Mr. Mshanga in particular?
Yes, sure. So, leave granted.
Thank you very much. Honorable First Vice President Dr. Kupe, Second Vice President, Honorable Engineer Elias Mwonzora, ladies and gentlemen of the press, welcome to this press conference after a long time. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming to this press conference at short notice. This press conference is about the announcement of our shadow cabinet. In line with international best practice and taking into account the type of governmental and parliamentary system that we have in Zimbabwe, the MDC team, after a lot of consultation, has come up with this shadow cabinet. The purpose of this shadow cabinet is to provide a critical eye to the key activities of government. It is also to provide oversight on the implementation or faithful implementation of government's stated policies. And most importantly, the purpose of the shadow cabinet is to come up with alternative policies that are in the best interest of Zimbabwe. In developing these policies that will be articulated in Parliament and other appropriate fora, the shadow cabinet ministers will interact with civil society, labor, business, churches and other stakeholders. The main important thing is to develop policies that are in the best interest of Zimbabwe. You will find that by and large, the ministries that we have created mirror the ministries that are in the current government. However, in some instances, we have had to disentangle the ministries. This is in order to facilitate easy, focused oversight on the relevant ministries, focused shadowing of the relevant ministries, and in some instances, it is meant to separate politics and economics. Zimbabwe has been under international isolation for more than 2 decades now, and most of this isolation has been political, and it has been for political reasons, although it has had economic consequences. Therefore, there is need to focus on the international re-engagement of Zimbabwe, the political re-engagement of Zimbabwe with the international community, including joining the Commonwealth. So there will be a minister that will focus on foreign affairs. A lot is happening in the international community right now, politically and so on. For example, we know what is happening in Afghanistan. We also know what is happening across the borders and so on. So there is need to focus on foreign affairs with the intention of facilitating the reintegration of the Zimbabwean community with the international community at a political level. Also, because of the international isolation, Zimbabwe's business has been left behind. So there is a need for Zimbabwe to focus on international trade. And international trade here will focus on assisting Zimbabwean business to be competitive at the world stage and to be streetwise at the world stage. So to facilitate this trade and trade ability, we have separated the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and with the Ministry of International Trade. International trade is going to focus on international commerce, on how to do business in a competitive manner. Remember, the aim of the MDC is to make Zimbabwe a world-class economy. For decades, our women have suffered marginalization, politically, economically, and socially. There is need to end this marginalization. There is a correlationship that is there, according to some scholars, between removing the marginalization of women and direct social, political, and economic development. And looking at other countries like Rwanda, there seems to be a correlation between women's advancement and even an end to corruption or reduction in corruption and the incidences of state capture. Most countries have developed on the basis of small and medium enterprises. And these countries include the United States of America. It is a mistake to genderize small and medium enterprises. At present, the current ministry, relevant ministry, is called the Ministry of Women, then Small and Medium Enterprises. What this seems to imply is that small and medium enterprises are confined to women. That is a mistake. Small to medium enterprises must be developed for everybody, the women, the youth, and the other groups. It can form the backbone of the economic survival or revival of Zimbabwe. The women's issues, other serious women's issues, the involvement in politics, the involvement in the economy, the involvement in big business. Women must be involved in big business as well, is what we are trying to emphasize on. So you will see a disentanglement in terms of oversight between the Ministry of Women's Affairs and the Ministry of SMEs. Climate change has become a very important topic in the world today, the environment and climate change. We need to focus on that to make sure that we have a green society, a green economy, and so on. Then we have the issue of hospitality and tourism, which is going to be a growing industry in Zimbabwe, and it is going to be a key industry leading to the economic revival of Zimbabwe. You will find, ladies and gentlemen, that we have disentangled that for purposes of oversight. Now, I've said before that oversight involves the development of alternative policy. Now, with the time that is left between now and the elections and so on, and the importance of this process, we want to speed up the development of alternative policies. That's why we have appointed ministers to focus on specific areas. The MDC is emphasizing efficiency. It is also emphasizing the disentanglement of politics and economics. In coming up with our list of ministers, we have looked at a number of factors. We have looked at the need always in our dealings to ensure that we put the competency of the individual at the forefront. Whether this individual is a woman or a man or comes from Manicaland or Mashonaland, doesn't matter. So we looked at the competencies of the various ministers. We also looked at such issues as gender and the need to advance women. And as I read the names to you, I should be the first to confess that we are still not happy about the level of women representation, even in this shadow cabinet, and we are going to be improving on that. We also looked at the issues of youth, the need to make sure that the youth are made leaders of today and not leaders of tomorrow. We also looked, of course, at the issues of the need for geographical representation in terms of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Now, the shadow cabinet will involve, of course, a shadow president, a shadow vice president, to mirror the highest part of the executive. So it is the three of us, myself, Vice President Kupe, Vice President Mwonzora. So we form part of the cabinet. Then the ministers are as follows, the shadow ministers are as follows: Defense and War Veterans Affairs, Senator Morgan Komich; Energy and Power Development, Senator Chief Njovu. He is a businessman. He was based in South Africa, but is now based in Zimbabwe. Environment and Climatic Change, Honorable Winfreda Yvonne Musarurwa. Tourism and Hospitality Industry, we have disentangled this because of its importance. We have Honorable Memory Mbondia. Finance and Economic Development, veteran politician, veteran economist, Dr. Tapua Mashakada. Foreign Affairs, one of our young people, Honorable Brian Dube. As I said, we disentangled foreign affairs with international trade. International trade, here we have appointed an international trade lawyer. His name is Honorable Ruben Chikudo of Goromon South. Health and Child Care, Honorable Dr. Ruth Labode. Higher Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology, Dr. Samuel Banda. He's one of our youngsters, Member of Parliament for Mount Pleasant. Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, this is a veteran again, Senator Piniel Denga from Mash East. Industry and Commerce, Honorable David Tekeshe from Manicaland. He is a businessman in Manicaland and Mashonaland. Information Communication Technology, Postal and Courier Services, one of our up-and-coming young men, young politicians, Senator Kalipani Pugen. The Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, again a young woman from Matabeleland South, Honorable Sipo Mokone. Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, one of our up-and-coming lawyers, Honorable Annelen Debele from Blawayo. Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, a veteran trade unionist, and our member, our Secretary General, Honorable Paulina Mpariwa. She held this position in the inclusive government as well. Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Rural Resettlement. On this ministry, we have yet to disentangle. It is a very, very long ministry. And as you may know, the President Mnangagwa has actually put more than 2 deputy ministers on this ministry. So we have yet to disentangle it. And we are disentangling because the cabinet, the national cabinet ministers that we have the benefit of having deputy ministers. They have the benefit of being held by the state bureaucracy, and they have the benefit of being held by the directors and permanent secretaries, which our shadow ministers don't have. That's why we have had to disentangle the ministries. So the main ministry, Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries and Rural Resettlement, Honorable Joyce Makonya, again a veteran MP from Manicaland. Local government and public works, this is a very, very enterprising man. He's a businessman. He is a very, very versatile character. He was the deputy mayor for Bulawayo, and you know he was in Zifa, he is in Zifa, and so on. Honorable Gift Banda. National housing and social amenities, one of our veteran politicians. She worked for a very long time in civil society, and currently she is our Secretary for Women's Affairs, Honorable Senator Dorothy Ndlovu. Primary and secondary education, again, this is a veteran, former deputy speaker in the National Assembly, Honorable Nomalanga Kumalo. Youth, sport, arts and culture, and recreation, a young man who is up and coming, MP for Glenview South, Honorable Vincent Changrai. Women's affairs, community development, again, member of the MDC, Honorable Sibusisiwe Buda Masara in the National Assembly. We want to push the issue of the women affairs starting from the National Assembly, and there's going to be a lot of activity there. We have disentangled the Ministry of Women's Affairs and Community Development and the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises for the reason that I have given. So the Minister of Small, Medium Enterprises is Honorable Lindiwe Maposa, a young woman from Matebeleland South. Transport and Infrastructure Development is our Deputy Secretary General. He's a medical doctor by profession, Senator Tichivanani Mavetera. Minister of Mines and Mining Development, this is a young man. He's a lawyer by profession, but he is based in a mining area and has got knowledge in mining. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, mining is one of the most regulated and legislated industries. It is going to be a backbone of Zimbabwe's economic revival. Honorable Advocate Chinyanganya, Minister of State Security, we realize that this ministry, under the current setup, the government setup, is housed in the office of the President and Cabinet. We don't think that is a good idea, and we want it to stand alone as a ministry. So Minister of State Security is a young man, former councillor in Harare, now MP in Harare, Honorable Peter Moyo. We have yet to disentangle the Ministry of Agriculture and from water resources, and we have somebody to oversee water resources. And if you cast your mind back, this is a ministry that former Vice President Honorable Mujuru once held, and that ministry goes to one of our young and upcoming women politicians and MPs, Honorable Brightness Mangora. Now, we have given you the shadow cabinet, but as you know, there are ministers of state for provincial affairs. the MDC is very, very serious with the issue of devolution. We think that devolution is an answer to uneven development. And we have deployed some men and women of competency to those provinces to deal with the provincial affairs as well as devolution affairs. Harare Metropolitan Province, this is a veteran politician and a founder member of the MDC, also involved in sport, Senator Morgan Femai. Mashonaland West, this man is the actual member of parliament. Had it not been for the inefficiency of ZEC, Mr. Gift Machona Konjana, he is going to be the shadow minister for Marsh West, shadowing Minister Mary Mliswa. Mashonaland East, again, she's a veteran member of the party and worked very hard in the Women's Assembly. She's a senator for Mashonaland East Province, Honorable Jane Chifamba. Mashonaland Central, one of our founding members, veteran trade unionist, and as a veteran parliamentarian, Honorable Gift Chimanikire, who is also our national organizing secretary. Masingo, this man is a former member of parliament, and he is a veteran trade unionist as well. Honorable Festus Dumbo. Matabeleland South, one of our most educated people, is a former soldier, former freedom fighter under ZIPRA. His name is Honorable Ekem Moyo. He is going to be our member of, he's going to be our Minister of State for Matabeleland South. Matabeleland North, a veteran again in the Women's Assembly, as well as current member of parliament for under proportional representation, Honorable Lwazi Sibanda. Bulawayo, she again is veteran, and she is a veteran. She is by training, in original training, a nurse. She has advanced herself and hold advanced degrees. Honorable Nomvula Mguni. Midlands, one of our most hardworking women and veteran politicians, Honorable Teti Banda, Senator for Midlands. Manicaland Province, this man was Minister of Home Affairs under the inclusive government, veteran nationalist, and one of our most loyal cadres, Honorable Major Giles Mutsekwa. Now, as I have said, the ministers of state don't sit in cabinet, but we have deployed our ministers in various provinces to shadow the ministers of state for provincial and devolution affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the appointment of ministers is an iterative process. It is a process that is done after thorough consultation and so on. This is what we offer to Zimbabwe. These ministers, we have had a meeting today. After they accepted their appointments, we have had a meeting with them today, giving them our expectations. And the main expectation is that they must develop policies for the best interests of Zimbabwean people. And in a few days' time, we are going to organize a retreat for the shadow cabinet. We are expecting these ministers to be traveling all over the country and supervising activities in their various areas of work. They are men and women, both young, old, and middle-aged, that we do have confidence in. And we commend these people, these ministers, to the people of Zimbabwe. I want to thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, the Honorable President. Ladies and gentlemen, like we said, it's a focused press conference. I know we can talk about the MDCT as a party for a very, very long time, but please today let's restrict our questions, point of clarity to the subject at hand, which is the appointment of these ministers and exactly what the party intends to achieve or accomplish through them. Please, as you raise your hand to ask a question, point of clarity, do mention your media house so that we take notes and recognize you accordingly. Thank you very much. Now we have a round of questions. Anyone with a question, point of clarity? I will take silence to say is the first one. Sorry?
My name is Mujay Tatenda. I'm a freelance journalist.
Yes.
My question is in relation to the structure. You seem to have adopted the same structure that ZANU-PF has. There are little changes, if any. So to that effect, won't that continue the rhetoric that you are more or less a ZANU-PF puppet?
No. Thank you for that question. I saw another hand here. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Gibson Yegadzino and I'm a freelance journalist. You said the structure of the shadow cabinet is mirroring the one that is developing at a national level. So drawing from that, it means what you are doing is drawing from what's happening in the national context. So I wanted to find out, bearing in mind that your deputy, Dr. Hope, at one point was chair of the Pollard Committee in view of international re-engagement. Is there any lead coming from you that since you are mirroring what's happening on the national political landscape, you would also be drawn closer to create a nexus between your shadow cabinet and also adopting what's happening at Pollard, considering your invitation by the President?
Okay, thank you for that question. Sorry, another hand there. Yes, please try to raise your voice because we need to speak through our masks.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Tony. I'm with Checkmate TV. I may have missed probably the first part. You can just respond as you go through. It may not be a question. I wanted to know how many ministers have been appointed, all in all, in total. My second question would be, you're appointing provincial ministers in a system where we already have governors as well looking over these areas. Is this not a duplication of services as far as these areas are concerned, where we're supposed to be having governors looking over and who are much more having an oversight power over these various areas? Is this not a matter of duplication? The third question is, I just wanted to know out of interest, who is funding you as the MDCT? How much funds do you have towards this? Specifically with your cabinet ministers also coming through, are they going to be on any salary or any payment? And if so, where are you getting the funds?
Thank you very much. Is there another hand?
I knew that if you give Tony, you're bound to get not less than one person.
Okay, let's say once we close the session.
Yes. Sure. My question is, you are not in government, but you already have secretaries, say for instance, secretary for local government, secretary for finance, secretary for information, who you have demoted because I didn't see him in the ministry. But I wanted to find out how these two would synergize, because it would appear naturally that your secretary of information should, in essence, shadow the information on government level. So since you are not in government, is it attainable to have two different sets of people who are running as ministers?
All right, I'll take the last end so that you've got 5 questions. Please don't protest on my behalf like blessed. Yes.
I noticed the president said he looked at competencies when the party came up with this cabinet. But I'm looking at the number of MPs we have in Parliament. I wanted to find out, is it that because they have no competence that they've been left out? The likes of Daniel Molokeli, the likes of Job Scala, and others. I didn't get their names on the cabinet list. Is it because they are so incompetent?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me just deal with the issue of some of the top leaders that you are not seeing on the list of ministers of the shadow cabinet. The shadow cabinet is confined to people who are serving members of parliament, because they will have to interact with the ministers at parliament, and you will find that our spokesperson is not yet a member of parliament. That's why you will see that despite his competencies, you are not seeing him there on the list of the cabinet ministers. By definition, a shadow cabinet is there to mirror any existing cabinet. A shadow cabinet worldwide is erected looking at the cabinet as set by the serving government, and its purpose is to take the government to account, number one. Number two, it is to mirror the government ministries. Number three, it is to develop alternative policy. So we will have the same structure because we are mirroring. A shadow cabinet is a mirror cabinet. The image on the mirror cannot be different from the real image. When you are having a shadow cabinet, it doesn't mean that you are agreeing with the government. Now, if you go to the United States, if you go to the United Kingdom, all countries with a Westminster type of parliament, you will find that the secretaries, the shadow secretaries, mirror the existing secretaries so that they take them into account. So the fact that we have a shadow cabinet that mirrors the ZANU-PF one does not mean that we are in agreement with it. But the reality is that that is the structure that is there. And that is the structure we are mirroring, and that we are going to be critiquing. So nothing should come from the fact that it is the same. It has to be the same if it is to be a shadow cabinet. The issue of Madam Coupe and the role that she is going to be playing, she was playing a big role in international relations when she was in Poland. Not only that, even at the time that she was Deputy Prime Minister of the country, she was very, very much involved in international relations. Even the coming of the inclusive government, the meetings in Kamal al-Sheikh immediately before the inclusive government, she was involved. So she has knowledge in international diplomacy, and that is why she is going to be supervising the cluster that is going to deal with international relations. So she is going to, we are going to reap on her vast experience in international relations in that regard. Regarding Poland, of course, we have not received any formal invitation, and we are waiting for that, and we will deal with that when the invitation is made and so on. But we are very happy. Besides the ministers, we are going to have the presidium in charge of various clusters supervising the ministers, and we intend to take advantage of their experience. You know, Engineer Mzuri, very successful as the executive mayor of Harare, and also track record very good in organizing. You know, we handed ZANU-PF its heaviest defeat when he was the organizing secretary in 2008. So issues like like issues, he is going to be dealing with that, among other things. He is an engineer, as you know. The number of ministries that we have, slightly more than the ministries that you will see in the cabinet, in the current cabinet. In the current cabinet, you will see 21. In our shadow cabinet, you will see 26. The reason is that in the current cabinet, those ministers have deputy ministers. The shadow cabinet does not have deputy ministers. And if you look at President Mnangagwa's cabinet, in some ministries, you have more than one deputy minister. I think in agriculture, you see more than one deputy there. They also have the services of the bureaucracy, the permanent secretaries, the directors, and the various functionaries, which the shadow cabinet does not have. Therefore, in order to facilitate meaningful oversight, we have had to disentangle. That's why you will see, because we entangled foreign affairs to international trade, you will see an additional minister there. Women's affairs disentangled from small and medium enterprises. You will see an increase in the number of ministers there. Disentangling water, because water is not for agriculture only, it is for other uses as well. You will see a disentanglement there. But the MDC stands for a lean cabinet. When we take over power, and not if we take over power, when we take over power, you will see a reduction in the number of ministries, because at that point we will have deputy ministers, we will have the bureaucracy and so on, which is not obtaining at Harvest House. There are no governors to name in the country right now. We have resident ministers, ministers of state for provincial affairs. They took the place of the governors, of course. Now they are called ministers of state then for provincial affairs and devolution. But these people don't sit in the cabinet, but they are ministers nevertheless. So we thought it prudent that we should mirror them. We must take them to account, hold them to account at the provincial levels. Looking at the development priorities of each region, the development priorities are not the same. The issues may not be the same. If you go to Nyanga, you may see different issues than the issues you get in Tongaland. In Tongaland, you may have an issue where indigenous people of that area are complaining about being regarded as poachers in the land of their birth, in the Zambezi Valley. Most people from Binga do not have fishing rights, and fishing rights are given to people from Harare and so on. So you may have a different type of grievance there. In Lupane, we have those massive volumes of natural gas and so on, and yet there is not much development and exploitation taking place. Matebeleland, you have issues of water. Matebeleland, you have the issues to do with the documentation of our people as a result of the evil legacy of Gokura Hundi. So you may have slightly different issues arising in different provinces, and the resident ministers will have to deal with these specific issues. The issue of the non-parliamentarians, I have answered that. The funding of the shadow cabinet. Well, the MDC is not receiving any other funding other than the funding that it is lawfully entitled to. And the funding that we are lawfully entitled to are the contribution by our members, the fundraising that we do from our well-wishers, our benefactors, lawfully in terms of the Political Parties Finances Act, in terms of the laws of this country. We also do get funding from the government grant as a result of the members of parliament that we have. So we have lawful sources of finance. But of course, we now have a shadow cabinet. This shadow cabinet has to be funded. The ministers have to travel. The researchers that they have to employ have to be paid. These ministers, the reports that have to be they have to compile have to be well presented. So we are going to require some funding for the shadow cabinet. But shadow cabinet worldwide would be entitled to a small fund from parliament itself, from government. It's certainly in the United Kingdom that is the case, and we want to encourage the government to look at that. We also want to encourage the international community to help with the funding of the shadow cabinet, so that there is complete democracy, there is complete oversight and transparency and accountability in Zimbabwe. We are certainly not part of government. We are an opposition party. We are a serious opposition party. What distinguishes us from other political parties is that we act like an alternative government. An alternative government has a president who is elected. An alternative government has ministers. And this alternative government has ministers. And that is what distinguishes us. Now, you are asking me about certain of the MPs who are not on the list of ministers. I think it was Mugowe, my friend. You mentioned specific names. Job Scala, Daniel Molokela. Whose ministry should they have taken? Who is less competent than them on this list? So, when we were looking at Job Scala is a lawyer, Daniel Molokela is a lawyer as well. Now, we have Brian Dube, who is a lawyer. We have Advocate Chinyanganya, who is a lawyer. We have Ruben Chikudo, who is an international trade lawyer. Which one should have been displaced by the people you mentioned? So having looked at all these things, all these factors, and taking advantage of the fact that I was a law lecturer for a number of years, and I have knowledge of some of these lawyers, I was fortified that the choices we made were the best choices in the circumstances. They are the best lawyers. They are better lawyers in my respectful view. So those are the factors we considered. And we also looked at other areas, industry and commerce. We have put a business person there who is successful, who has proven himself, and so on. So information communication technology, who doesn't know Kalipani Pugen, and who doesn't know his abilities, and we have employed him there. So we looked at the competencies of the people and we were satisfied. It has nothing to do with whether these people are not good enough, but we think we have taken the best. It's like choosing a national team. You can ask why have you chosen Peter Njov and not another player? Peter Njov is a good player, and we have chosen good players.
Thank you very much, the Honorable the President. I thought there was another hand because of that round, and unless if the questions have been cleared. Checkmark TV wants to have what follow-up question. Please make it brief. We are still under COVID situation. We want to give each other very long. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's just a follow-up with what Senator Mwonzora has just said. It seems you agree that you should be using a methodology of mirroring it's not my place to argue whether or not the MDC should be mirroring other governments as a shadow government. But are you not in contradiction when you are mirroring the current government? But when it comes to the number of ministers, you then give yourself allowance to do 26 outside your mirroring of 20. You seem to have leverage to do whatever you want outside the current mirror. But when you ask you say you're mirroring. But then when you look at the numbers, you go to 26. I'm just worried about that inconsistency.
First of all, we mirror our government, not other governments.
Yeah.
So, for example, if we were to appoint our ministers looking based on the United Kingdom cabinet, we are not a shadow cabinet for this country. We'll be a shadow cabinet for the United Kingdom or for the United States or for South Africa. In a shadow cabinet, you mirror the ministries that are there. Now, your question is, but in some instances, you see the disentanglement. Still, the mirroring is there. There is going to be mirroring of women's affairs. There is going to be mirroring of small and medium enterprises. And I have explained to you that this slight increase that you see in the number of ministers is because we do not have deputy ministers. We do not have the bureaucracy. And we are pressed for time in coming with alternative policies. And we want our MPs to focus. Now, we want our minister to focus on foreign affairs. Try foreign affairs. We want this person who is a skilled member of international trade to focus on international trade. There, we have disentangled politics and economics. It is important. Unfortunately, Zimbabwe has been under international isolation for close to 2 decades. And you need to develop skills of competing at an international stage for our various enterprises, our various businesses. And we will be providing support for our business people who want to compete at a world stage. And we have dedicated an international trade lawyer, an international business lawyer to do that. That is the explanation.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. Thank you very much, members of the press.